Hey, welcome everybody to the 40 Finance channel. My name's Jeff Beers. Today we're going to take a look at the top growth stocks on Seeking Alpha. They sort of have a quant formula, and then they also do some of their writers, and they look at Wall Street analysts to come up with their top growth stock picks currently based on the growth level, valuation, and how things look going forward. So we'll pick off a few names from this growth stock list. I'll let you know my opinion on each stock. We'll dig a little deeper into their future earnings and projections. And who knows, maybe at the end of it, you'll find a few names that you want to dig into more. Friendly reminder that my stock picks and projections are just my opinion for your entertainment. Please make sure you do your own research before investing. However, if you like going through growth stock lists like this, as well as other stock market deep dives, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like. Thank you very much for your support. All right, so here we are on Seeking Alpha. I'm not sure how much of what we're looking at today is a paid feature. I'm a pro subscriber, which is sort of their mid-tier. So if you go to the site and you're wondering why you might not be able to find something, it could be part of my pro subscription. They have a lot of free stuff though, so maybe you guys will be able to log in and check this stuff up out yourself. We're going to go to top growth stocks out of their list here. And by default, these are sorted by quant rating, which is Seeking Alpha's quantitative formula that they look through. But for the stocks that I picked to look at deeper, we're going to kind of eyeball all of these lines here, which is quant rating, essay authors rating. These are people that just write for the website. They can be just regular people like you and I. Some of them have more experience, but there's not really like a defining quality on writing for Seeking Alpha. So just know that authors is kind of a mixed bag. Then we have Wall Street rating. And then over here, they do letter grades for a few categories, right? Value, which is basically how the price of the stock relates to their earnings. Growth, profitability, momentum, EPS. Put it all together, we're looking for mostly green, if not all green, across these categories to pick off a few names. So let's kick off with the number one on their list, with this Marathon Digital Holdings. And most of the time, what I'm most curious about is sales and earnings type ratios when we're just trying to eyeball a stock. So I'll go to earnings estimate. Seeking Alpha has a pretty cool feature in the fact that they do these kind of line graphs based on analyst estimates. We're going to scroll down here. Period ending December 2021, Marathon Digital, the estimate is 224. That says nothing on the year-over-year growth, so it's sort of hard to tell there. But a forward PE of 1352 for this one. Next year, the projection is 291. That brings forward PE down to 1040 at today's price of, looks like $30. And I can tell you that this is an interesting stock because it is a Bitcoin mining stock as well as other cryptocurrencies. So this wouldn't be one that I'd be particularly interested in myself. And mostly I wouldn't be interested because I guess I'd probably rather invest in Bitcoin directly if I felt like Bitcoin was going to go up. So keep that in mind on these EPS estimates. When we get down to revenue, you get a bigger feel for how the growth is going. So 251 million in revenue, and that's a pretty big growth mark from the year before. Price to sales at 12x. If they hit that number, then you drop to 5x the following year if they hit their projections. The call out, I guess, even though we only have one analyst, would be potentially that 2023 is not showing as much growth. However, with just one analyst chiming in, making the projection, it's really hard to tell how old or new that one would be. All right, so ratios aside, let's take a look at TipRanks more specifically to see what the top analysts think about this stock. And it looks like we have a few updates within the past 2 months, even 15 and 5 days ago. All three of these best performing analysts have a price target between $40 and $54, all three with a buy So there's definitely some strong sentiment in relation to Marathon Digital. All right, number 2 on the list we're not going to do today. That's Tenneco, and that is mostly because they have not yet reached profitability. It's an interesting company, though, because they make sort of air and power filtration products for regular engines, so internal combustion engines and diesel engines. So that's one to look at. PetroChina, I'm also not going to cover here today because I don't normally follow Chinese stocks. CDEV is also not profitable, so I'm skipping that. Let's take a look at Signet Jewelers. And we'll start over on their Seeking Alpha page. Again, we're going to look at earnings and earnings estimates going forward, try to get a feel for how the jewelry industry is doing. And right off the bat, this is kind of interesting because you see 2020's actuals and 2021 actuals took a step down, but then they're projected to bounce back this year. So it could definitely be a situation of perhaps a bounce back stock that hasn't reached its returning peak yet. January 2022, for that fiscal period, we have an EPS estimate of 7, year-over-year growth of 230%. But what's interesting again is 2023 EPS estimate is going down 7%, and your forward PE would actually go up. Taking a look at revenue, January of 2022, $6.68 billion. That's plus 27%. Forward price to sales under 1, which is not something you see very often. And then January of 2023, though, they are expected to make maybe a flat to minor pullback in their revenue so that forward price to sales remains the same. So this one, just looking at the projections, perhaps you would say there's room for it to run in the future, but you have to start to get a little bit nervous about that 2023 not displaying the growth, at least for me personally, that I would expect in a so-called growth stock. Now, just out of curiosity, I'm going to stop by Yahoo and just look at their historical valuations. And it looks like from an annual standpoint, forward PE has been as low as 15, even as low as single digits in some instances a few years ago. So this one, I don't know how big of a value it truly is. All right, taking a look at TipRanks, we do have a few updates, although I'm going to call out, 3 holds here. So plus 11% upside for the top target, the one that came in most recently. And then the other ones are sort of flat to down. So Signet, for me, I'm not super excited about as I dig into the metrics. All right, back at our board, I'm going to skip ahead to Star Bulk Carriers. Star Bulk Carriers is a shipping company engaging in an ocean transportation of dry bulk cargoes. All right, so let's take a look. If you follow the shipping industry, it is not always as easy as you would think to find value. Now, you do often get dividends. Let's see if this one is giving a dividend. It does at 1.46%. But let's take a look at these earnings projections, or estimates rather. And this is another one where, like, here's your last actual was 17 cents. Now this year they look like they could come in hot, as well as next year up into the $5 range. That would put your forward PE around 4 for the next 2 years. So great year-over-year sales growth for these. Forward price to sales around 2. However, I would say that in my opinion, they're about flat next year. The long-term projection is sort of a mixed bag. So perhaps a good value from when you include the dividend and everything, but I'm not sure if I like the long-term appeal of this one. All right, on the TipRanks side, we did get a couple updates 20, 30 days ago, both of them with buys at plus 35% and plus 44% upside. So I would say with Star Bulk Carriers right now at a price of $20.73, you could definitely have a run over the next year or two as that EPS is pumping up fairly dramatically from the year before. You just have to know that the carrier industry and ocean transport, very mixed bag, and perhaps the immediate future is bright, but I'm not sure that this is a long-term hold. Maybe try to jump in and bank off these EPS growth numbers that are projected, and then get out once you've achieved your goal. All right, next on the board, we got a couple banks here, Citigroup and Capital One. Just for fun, I'm going to focus on Citigroup because it's got greens across the board, whereas Capital One only gets a C plus in Seeking Alpha for their value score. So let's take a look at Citigroup. Citigroup price today, $68.43. And we'll get into our earnings estimates here. And with Citigroup, 2021, which is really December of 2020, slow year, 488. The year before they were at 757. Now you start to see some consensus earnings coming in the $8 or $9 mark over the next few years. And this is a big stock, so we're going to have multiple analysts chiming in on a stock like Citigroup. And at least in the immediate future, from an earnings standpoint, you have good year-over-year earnings per share growth right here, forward PE of under 8, but then it sort of slows down, right? So you're getting a huge jump from the prior year, and then, arguably flat to just barely over in the next few years after that. So the forward PE today, even incorporating all these things, doesn't actually go down a whole lot over the next 3 years. All right, on the revenue side, we've got $71.4 billion, then 72, then 75. So year-over-year growth actually would be negative at that level, and then single digits for the 2 years after that, forward price to sales under 2. I'm not sure I really like this one, but let's check the dividend because they should have some sort of dividend. Almost every bank stock does. Dividend yield 2.9%, so you definitely have to factor that into your total returns. All right, on the TipRanks side, we got several updates over the past 60 days, mostly buys, one hold, upside anywhere between 21% and 73%. So analysts on the banking side certainly expect big things out of Citigroup over the next year or so. And my guess is because the earnings per share is going to go up so much from last year. The question is the dividend and the single-digit growth rate that's projected after this year, is that enough for you to get excited about investing in Citi? All right, scanning back through our list, I'm going to stop at Alcoa. So they do a lot with aluminum products internationally. They have a pretty good score across the board. Let's dig in a little bit further. All right, and similar to so many companies, you obviously had a fallout. Now here in 2022, you're ramping back up to just under $5 EPS in terms of projections, and a little bit flat from 21 into 22, and then you start to ramp up in the future. But in terms of the next couple years, again, you're going from zero, this NM, not measurable. So they struggled last year. This year you pop all the way back up to 478, so almost a value play. Forward PE of 8, but those numbers don't really go down much further, and that's always a concern for me. On the revenue side, we've got just shy of $11 billion this year, which is 18% growth. Next year, barely over $11 billion, so you're in single-digit land again. And basically the same thing if you look out to 2023. Forward price to sales under 1, so certainly a good value there. And I wanted to look at the dividend for this one, and it looks like whether they suspended it or otherwise, they are not offering a dividend right now. All right, on the TipRanks side, we've got a few updates in the last 22 days. Hold, buy, hold. Upside, the high side would be 36%, and the low side would be 3% for Alcoa. All right, back at our list, try to find maybe one more. They've got the Ford Motor Company listed here. Let's take a look at Ford. You're at 1446 today. Just while I'm on this screen, there's no dividend right now for Ford. I don't know if they're planning to reinstate one or not. Let's take a look at their earnings estimates. You've got 41 cents coming out of last year with all the challenges and chip shortages and things like that. And then you start to see some good growth into the future. Taking a look at projection for 2021 fiscal year, got $1.32 on the estimate. That's a growth of 220%. It puts your forward PE at 11.31. Then you're doing incrementally better in 22 and 23. And guys, this is what I was sort of alluding to with the other stocks. At least on the EPS level, Ford is offering the EPS growth that you really should be looking for in a company, right? Now, it's not Herculean growth, but $1.32 to $1.83 to $2.08, and it even drags out from there. This is what we want to see, because when the price you pay today, forward PE of 11, then as the years go on, your forward PE original cost goes down over time. All right, scrolling down, and this is on the revenue side. We've got 129 billion projected this year, 12% growth, 19% growth, followed by 4.5% growth. And once again, your forward price to sales, in this case, you have a declining ratio. So again, we're looking for revenue and EPS growth. I say Ford gives it to you through 2022, and then you'll have to play the game on 2023 to see if they can get this number up a little bit. We'll be in the heat of the EV revolution by then, so maybe these numbers get better. All right, on the TipRanks side, it's been a little while. We have two fresh updates, 22 days ago and 7 days ago. If you want to go all the way back to last month, you've got 1 hold, 2, 3 holds, 1, 2, 3 buys, and 1 sell. Price range in here looks anywhere between $17 all the way down to $11. The 17 would give you a plus 17% upside from here. All right, so that was a look at the Seeking Alpha top growth stocks without any filters put on them. Usually when I do stuff like this, I'm going to focus on my sectors, which is kind of technology, consumer goods, things like that. But I got to say, the ones that were on that list, at least in terms of the quant score in the order we went through them, there wasn't a lot out there on the current price that I would say would motivate me to buy. And quite honestly, I'm seeing that a lot in growth stock world right now, where the prices have jumped basically back up to levels we were seeing in February. And at least in my camp, I'm trying to be patient because I think there's more risk to the downside. I am staying fully invested, but the names that we looked at today, there was really nothing in there that I say, hey, drop the phone, I've got to go get this while it's still at this price. All right, investors, let me know what you think about that Seeking Alpha growth stock list. If you liked any of the names we talked about today, thank you as always for watching. Please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. We will see you on the next video.